Hi, I'm Trine Mork, and this is Alan Simpson. We're both university instructors employed at different academic institutions in southern Kyushu. In this video, we're going to share our experience creating and delivering a banking English seminar to staff at a prefectural bank. This work came about in 2019 because a former director at the bank started working at the university. The bank inquired about the possibility of a banking English seminar delivered by the university, and Alan and I were requested. We wanted to conduct a basic needs analysis by getting opinions and evidence from a variety of sources to find out wants, needs, gaps, hopes, motivations, and requirements of the various stakeholders.
So the first thing we did was meet with several bank managers from the personnel and international divisions. We discussed some business English training ideas, and they said they had two types of seminars in mind. One for new staff and the other for experienced staff. New employees generally have a 6-week training period at the bank when first employed, which includes topics such as business manners, dealing with customers, providing services, and making phone calls. The personnel manager wanted to add a new banking English seminar. They wanted staff to build confidence in using English and dealing with customers in real-life situations, not only with foreign visitors, but also with foreign residents in the prefecture. The international division manager, on condition of a successful first seminar, asked for a separate seminar for 20 to 30 more experienced members from all over the prefecture. They had various kinds of jobs, from auditing to domestic and international transactions, including working with the bank's branch in Taiwan. However, the manager told us that they were not so proficient in English, so the same seminar would be fine, just with more focus on role-playing customers' banking transactions for the more experienced staff.
They also provided us with some sample in-house training materials, including an explanation of the ATM screen, some polite welcome phrases, some credit withdrawal and remittance phrases, some basic English phrases for completing forms, and instructions for the bank's internal standard operating procedures. After our first meeting, we decided to plan and develop some of our own ideas at the same time as developing surveys to assess the prospective trainees' English abilities and motivations. The surveys included the following writing prompts to learn about their writing ability and intercultural knowledge. For our first seminar, we did not collect feedback, but for the later, more experienced employee seminar, we simplified the survey and added a post-seminar question. For the first seminar, we received completed surveys from 27 employees. 50% said that they would like to talk in English to foreign banking customers when they first meet. We judged using their sentence length, range of vocabulary, topic development, and cohesion of ideas that most employees' English skills were about around the CEFR A2 level. Similarly, for the second seminar with more experienced employees, aside from one employee who had lived abroad for several years, these trainees averaged at about the CEFR A2 level too. Furthermore, we learned that both sets of trainees were interested in improving both general communicative competence in English and professional banking English.
Since the two groups of trainees were at the same level, we decided to create teaching materials that could be used by both groups of trainees. In creating our booklet, we thought it a good idea to see what had already been done rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. But sadly, it was difficult to find banking English research in general, and specifically in Japan. We looked at some banking EFL textbooks, but they weren't really tailored to our local needs. So as much as we could, then we tried to make use of the materials supplied by the bank, the survey data, and our own personal experiences as expats using banking services in Japan. We considered language requirements for customer service in general, and made several visits to various bank branches to look at the teller machines, pick up commonly used banking forms, and chat further with the bank representatives assigned to help us. For a 2 to 3 hour seminar, the focus was narrowed to include the following functions: helping foreign clients open a bank account, assisting them at the ATM machines to withdraw money, depositing money and make a balance inquiry. Since numbers and counting are infamously challenging when translating between the two languages, and because this was a banking seminar, it was decided to allot some time to teach and practice working with numbers. And in addition, trainees asked for basic language practice, and since, if confronted with English-speaking foreigners, there would likely be a negotiation of meaning, then control language was also included. We decided that the language should be presented and modelled to the trainees before they practiced it by themselves. Then the tasks were gradually less structured or supported as trainees progressed through the seminar. Activities could be prolonged or skipped to accommodate longer sessions of 3 hours or a higher level of students, and also they could be encouraged to practice on their own after the seminar and use it for reference material. Then over time, although some changes occurred within the main booklet, this kind of outline remained consistent.
Okay, let's jump into how we taught the seminar. It was held in a large seminar room with a projector, mics, and tables with setup for groups of 4 to maximize pair work. After being formally introduced, we outlined the seminar. When we first started teaching the seminar, we used an icebreaker activity to get everyone up and introducing themselves to a partner casually to practice fluency and confidence building. However, we decided that instead of simply introducing ourselves, we could model some clarification language in our introductions. So in subsequent seminars, we went straight to the control language page at the end of the booklet before introducing ourselves. Control language refers to phrases for interrupting, stating your level of understanding, and asking for clarification, repetition, meaning, and rephrasing. Trainees familiarize themselves with these phrases by taking turns reading them to each other out loud, and Japanese equivalents were provided. Learners then tested each other to see how much they could recall, first in Japanese, then in English. During our introduction warm-up, the trainees had to identify the control language phrases. Then they could practice using it by introducing themselves to the people in their group. After that, we encouraged them to negotiate meaning during the seminar using those phrases. The second section started with an introduction of questions in English, typically used by customer service representatives when opening a bank account. We included images of the typical ID that foreign residents carry. Then, after reading these example phrases aloud and confirming their ability to pronounce and understand them, we went over how to manage a request for personal information that the bank requires of foreigners, but not of Japanese citizens.
Following the general language for opening a bank account, trainees were presented with a list of instructions and questions related to opening an account. The phrases corresponded with the bank's open application form, an image of which was included in the booklet with numbers imposed on top to indicate what phrase would be used for what section of the form. And after listening to the instructors read out these phrases, trainees did the same in pairs, careful to note the meanings and to what section of the form the phrases should be applied to. At the end of the section, a few snippets of some language for closing the conversation once the account was set up were also introduced. The next section of the seminar covered vocabulary and phrases for using the Japanese-only ATM. Trainees were presented with an image of the options of the ATM initial screen, along with a bilingual table with Japanese-English translations and English definitions. Then trainees worked in pairs to review and try to remember this information with each other before proceeding to a matching activity. We prepared 3 model conversations for trainees to listen to, which aimed to be natural and authentic. These included getting help making a withdrawal, a deposit, a bank inquiry at the ATM. Key elements of the conversation were removed to turn them into close activities. The instructors then role-played the conversations at native, then slower speeds. Trainees shared their answers with each other, then the answers were revealed in slides. Finally, time was given to trainees to practice the dialogues in pairs, trying as much as possible to read first, then maintain eye contact while speaking.
There are several large numbers in the next section, so this proved a good transition point to review numbers. We created a page worth of content breaking down how to exaggerate the different pronunciation between 13 and 30, for example, how longer numbers in English are broken down into threes, and how to quickly say them. We also reviewed the symbols and pronunciation of some world currencies that the bank currently deals with. Trainees took turns listening and speaking, making use of control language whenever necessary. After gaining some confidence with numbers, the next role-play section commenced. In most cases, we were not able to get through all the role-plays, but presenting several possible scenarios meant trainees could practice on their own, in their own time, after the seminar. The next section was about helping customers at the counter. The scenarios were contextualized with short descriptions about withdrawing, depositing, and transferring money using images of the bank's own forms. At first, it was a scaffolded reading pair work activity with some clarification phrases included. Then they were encouraged to adapt the task to an unscripted one, depending on their confidence and English language ability, with their own freestyle customer service interactions. For this set of activities, realia in the form of actual bank forms from the bank were supplied so that role-playing customers could practice filling out the form in response to guidance from the staff. The forms also served as prompts as they would in real life.
Reflecting on the feedback we collected, the trainees were satisfied with the seminar and learned how to respond to customers. 70% of the initial experienced employees said that they wanted to study and practice more English in the future. But a few said that they had difficulty with large numbers and listening in English. So they requested slower modelled dialogues. It was obvious that the managers were satisfied as well, because the seminar was conducted 3 times in 2019, 8 times in 2020, and once in 2021. So throughout this time, the materials were continually updated and improved. For example, it was discovered in one session that trainees were not able to express common currencies in English. So we added in the currency symbols and pronunciation in the number section. Dialogues were also updated to show more clearly who was the customer and who was the member of staff. We corrected some errors in pronunciation and formatting and inserted the bank's own forms to use as realia when doing the role plays. And then there was a larger change in 2020 to combine the reading and speaking tasks because there was too much content and not enough speaking practice.
We adapted Chan's 2009 framework for evaluating business English materials to analyze these banking materials. The framework is comprised of 2 checklists to examine both the pedagogical and interactive features of the materials. There was definitely more of a focus on transactional banking tasks rather than social interaction, but one aim was to build confidence in English, and so the warm-up task was developed to practice natural interaction and clarification techniques. This balance was difficult because in most banking interactions, it's simply polite functional interaction. However, for the trainees' intrinsic motivation, general English fluency and communication skills are desired.
The trainees could have been sensitized more to different levels of formality. They could use, with more time, we could introduce trainees to different forms and different levels of politeness for when they interact with customers. Trainees may have to adapt to varying contexts that need flexible interpersonal strategies. For example, if they were selling an investment portfolio, then it would be advantageous to build some rapport and trust with the customer through some small talk. The pedagogical features of the materials were developed to meet workplace needs of bank employees if they interact with foreign customers, as it was requested by the bank. So tasks such as helping customers to operate an ATM, open a bank account, or make a withdrawal were already familiar to trainees. So it was suitable for tasks for English skill training that could be adapted and extended for trainees with different English skill levels.
The biggest critique would be that the whole seminar could be flipped so that no language is presented to the trainees in class before they try to complete a customer bank transaction, and then build up the language support depending on their abilities. However, considering time constraints and a lack of knowledge about the banking English abilities of each trainee, it was decided that language models should be presented first in a short 2-hour seminar. The role plays and language presented tried to present authentic signposted openings, closings, and functional moves like initiating the transaction, clarifying, summarizing, and completing the transaction. However, the scripts were not based on a corpus of actual recorded and authentic banking English as a lingua franca interaction. The materials could also include more advice for the trainees about their learning strategies, possibly by adding in a learning strategy tip box on some of the pages to remind and support their autonomous follow-up study. Similarly, can-do statements could be added to the start and end of the seminar for self-evaluation. More attention could be given to presenting other cultural norms of doing banking so that the trainees may have examples of how banking is done in other cultures where many foreign nationals come from. One of the most important strategies for managing cross-cultural issues is the ability to paraphrase, such as confirming what a customer has said, and to be able to and willing to try to negotiate understanding within the interaction, which we try to introduce through control language.
So when comparing these materials with the literature, our situation had less in common with studies we found on bank employees in Iran and in Jordan than with the situation outlined in Taiwan, where employees didn't have a strong need for English. Tailoring our seminar to the local context, using authentic realia to complete familiar work tasks, gave the seminar a personalised approach, which standard textbooks couldn't. This included a blend of specialised vocabulary, as recommended by Hashimoto back in '94, and more recently Can suggested a communicative approach should be used for bank employees in Vietnam, and that would also be beneficial for this seminar, giving the trainees more autonomous, self-directed use of language if there was more time. There should also be follow-up options for trainees wishing to develop their English or banking skills, for example, email writing, along with cross-cultural understanding to develop a sensitivity and flexibility towards future language use.
As an indication to the success of this seminar, bank managers and employees requested future follow-up courses or workshops in their free time, evenings, to focus on general communication skills such as small talk and intercultural training. Unfortunately, they were suspended due to COVID, but we hope to start them again soon. And that is all we have for you today. Thanks for your time. We should be around online for any questions during our JALT conference time slot.